Welcome back to Radical Leftist Scum. I'm your host, Valdet Slimai, and today we're going to talk about one of the most overused, intellectually bankrupt phrases in the MAGA vocabulary, Trump Derangement Syndrome. Trump Derangement Syndrome. This is probably my favorite thing that MAGA brings up all the time. I've heard so much of it in the past couple of weeks. And when I was trying to think about what do I want to do for this week's episode, I got hit with a whole bunch of TDS. I'm like, obviously, that has to be the topic. We need to talk about Trump Derangement Syndrome. Now, if you've spent any time online arguing with a Trump supporter like me, or honestly just existing near one, you've heard this. You mentioned that maybe, I don't know, just maybe a sitting president shouldn't try to overturn an election, or that we have a sitting president who is in the Epstein files, and suddenly, oh, you've got TDS. You're deranged. You just can't stop thinking about Trump. I just, every time I hear it, I just wish that MAGA could see what we see when they say it, but they don't. And by the end of this episode, I want to talk more about it, but by the end of this episode, I want you to walk away with one very clear thought. The people who say TDS the loudest are the ones who actually can't stop thinking about Donald Trump. And that's not a joke. It is provable, it's documented, and it's an embarrassing reality. So let's get into it. Okay, so let's just start with the basics. What does MAGA mean when they say TDS? Well, the idea in its most charitable form is this. Some people, liberals, leftists, the media, basically anyone who criticizes Trump, are so emotionally, irrationally consumed by their hatred of that man that they've lost all ability to think clearly. Everything bad that happens in their quote-unquote deranged view is Trump's fault. Everything Trump does, no matter how reasonable, is automatically terrible to them. Now, Trump is so consistent with the harmful and evil things that he does that, of course, when people hear his name, that is going to be a natural response. But here's where it falls apart. TDS isn't actually used that way. It's not deployed carefully against like bad faith takes. It's used as a universal dismissal, a get out of argument free card. You have receipts? TDS. You cite court documents? TDS. You play the actual audio clip? Buddy, you've got TDS bad. It's not a diagnosis. It's a mute button. And I've seen this happen numerous times over the past several weeks. Every time I bring up a screenshot of one of the Epstein files, or I play a video of Donald Trump saying something, I automatically get hit with the TDS. And then I'll say, well, why do you think that Ghislaine Maxwell went to prison with the same evidence that's being used against Donald Trump? TDS. But then it's nothing. They get quiet, they give me the TDS, and then they exit the conversation. Like, oh, okay, cool. So that's it. The idea of this Trump derangement syndrome is actually not new. It came from somewhere. And the lineage of this phrase matters because it reveals exactly what it is. It is a recycled propaganda tool. Let's go back to 2003. George W. Bush is president. The Iraq War is ramping up. And conservative columnist Charles Krauthammer, a trained psychiatrist, which is ironic, coined the term Bush derangement syndrome. And he defined it as the acute onset of paranoia in otherwise normal people in reaction to the policies, the presidency, nay, even the very existence of George W. Bush. But notice what he did there. He used clinical sounding language to pathologize political opposition. Disagreeing with the president isn't legitimate. It's a syndrome. You're not making an argument. You're having a breakdown. Fast forward to 2015, and this template gets slapped onto Trump. So Dilbert cartoonist and professional wrongness enthusiast Scott Adams is widely credited with popularizing Trump derangement syndrome. Fox News picked it up and ran with it, because of course they did. And from there, It just grew into every corner of right-wing media until it became the reflexive response to any and all Trump criticism. So the origin story isn't like grassroots wisdom. It is a 20-year-old rhetoric trick designed specifically to shut down debate. So let's talk about function over form here, because what TDS does in practice is actually much more insidious than just calling someone crazy. First, it's a thought-terminating cliché. That's a term coined by psychiatrist Robert J. Lifton, who notably studied actual cults, to describe phrases that shut down critical thinking. Instead of engaging with an argument, you label the person making it. TDS does exactly this. It transforms, here's evidence and reasoning, into, oh, you have a mental illness. Boom, conversation over. Second, it weaponizes the language of mental health. Calling someone deranged or saying they have a syndrome isn't neutral, it's stigmatizing. It implies that their concerns aren't legitimate political positions, they're symptoms to be dismissed. And that's not debatable. That's dismissal dressed as diagnosis. And third, and this is the big one, it functions as a sort of firewall. Once you convince your followers that all criticism of Trump is just TDS, you've made your leader immune to accountability. No evidence will ever be enough. The more damning the evidence, the more deranged the person presenting it must be. It becomes this closed loop. It's unfalsifiable, and closed, unfalsifiable loops around a charismatic leader are, say it with me, a hallmark of cult dynamics. Now let's be precise about this too, because cult does get thrown around a lot, so I want to be specific. Cult researchers and psychologists, people like Dr. Stephen Hassan, who developed the BITE model of cult control and has written several books on cults, including Donald Trump, identify several consistent patterns in high control groups. And the TDS accusation maps onto them almost perfectly. So let's look at it. 1, suppression of dissent. In cults, members who question the leader are pathologized. In Scientology, they're known as suppressive persons. In MAGA, they have TDS. The mechanism is identical. Criticism of the leader is reframed as a defect of the critic. Number 2, information control. If any source that criticizes the leader is automatically suspect, mainstream media has TDS. Judges have TDS. Former Trump officials have TDS. Then the only valid information source becomes, you guessed it, Trump himself. And that is textbook information control. 3, it goes back to this us versus them framing. TDS creates an in-group, sane MAGA supporters, and an out-group, deranged critics. And this division is fundamental to maintaining group cohesion and loyalty. And this isn't me being dramatic. I also have a background in social psychology. I've studied these things. I've done this work for a long time. I'm not being dramatic. Political scientists and cult experts have written about this. I've researched this. All the patterns are documented. The TDS label isn't just a dumb insult. It's doing real ideological work inside a real authoritarian movement. So why does this phrase stick? Why does TDS stick? And why does it work so well that millions of people reach for it reflexively? A few reasons. First, it's a great conversation ender. If you're losing an argument, or more accurately, if you've never learned how to have one, calling the other person crazy is very efficient. No evidence required. Second, it signals tribal loyalty. Using the phrase marks you as an insider. It's a password. When you say TDS, you're saying, I'm one of us. I dismiss their concerns the way we all dismiss them. It's social bonding through shared contempt. Third, it's a shame mechanism. Being accused of TDS is designed to make you feel embarrassed, like your concerns are illegitimate, like you're being irrational. And some people moderate their criticism to avoid that label. And that's the goal. It's to keep you quiet. It's to shut you up because of shame. And fourth, maybe most importantly, it immunizes the believer against incoming information. If you've pre-labeled all Trump criticism as TDS, you never have to actually process it. New evidence, TDS. New indictment, TDS. New audio recording, oh, that's peak TDS right there. It's basically a vaccine against reality. My friend, I will tell you, I have seen this one play out so much. When I get called TDS and I said, hey, look at this Epstein file. Look at this. Again, they automatically deny it because I have TDS. I'm like, okay, but like who really has the TDS here? So let's talk about that. Because it's almost, as much as they say that we all have TDS, that when MAGA says that anybody who criticizes Trump has TDS, this is where it gets almost like poetically ironic. Let's take the concept of TDS at face value just for a moment. Let's say it describes someone who is so consumed by Trump that they can't even think clearly, who organizes their entire worldview around him, who engages in irrational, extreme behavior in relation to him. Who actually fits that description? Is it the people saying his policies caused harm and here are the receipts? Or is it the people who stormed the United States Capitol because he told them the election was stolen? A claim, by the way, that his own attorney general, his own election security officials, and his own White House counsel said was false. Is it the people who voted against him? Or is it the people who selling Trump-branded Bibles, Trump-branded sneakers, Trump NFTs, and buying them by the millions? Is it the people who wrote critical op-eds? Or is it the people at his rallies holding signs comparing him to Jesus? Literally, the chosen one. God sent us Trump. Trump is my shepherd. Trump is anointed. And let's talk about January 6th for a second. Hundreds of people voluntarily committed federal crimes, assault, trespassing, seditious conspiracy, all based entirely on a claim that was made up. Multiple courts, Trump's own Justice Department, his own campaign lawyers all said there's no evidence of widespread fraud. And people still believed it. They still acted on it, and they still went to jail for it. This is not rational political support. This is derangement. This is what derangement actually looks like. And the projection here is almost too on the nose. And we know this with MAGA, every accusation is a confession. And psychologists call this defense mechanism projection, attributing your own feelings or behaviors to others. I'm not obsessively devoted to this man. You're the deranged one for noticing. The people who can't stop talking about Trump are the ones at his rallies every week. The ones who build shrines to him, the ones who get tattoos of him, the ones who believe that he is literally sent by God to save America. The ones who remained loyal after 2 impeachments, 4 criminal indictments, and a civil fraud judgment. And they remained loyal to him with copious amounts of evidence of pedophilia, sexual assault of children and women, and other horrific crimes. That is commitment. That's also identity fusion. That is, if we're using the term honestly, derangement. Their entire identity, MAGA's entire identity, is wrapped around Donald Trump. This is why they are separated from their families. This is why they are separated from society. They are rejected from society because they have put Donald Trump at the core of who they are. And honestly, from a psychology perspective, they don't know who they are without him. He gave them permission to be racist, to be homophobic, to be sexist, to say and do whatever they wanted because they wanted to. And even though Donald Trump himself even said numerous times things like, I love the poorly educated, smart people don't like me, derogatory statements towards his own voters, his own supporters, they love him because they are deranged. We criticize his policies. They made him their entire personality, and we are not the same. Trump Derangement Syndrome is not a real psychological concept. It's a recycled rhetorical weapon with a 20-year pedigree designed to pathologize opposition, shut down debate, and protect the leader from accountability. And I want you to remember this expression. It's a thought-terminating cliché. Thought-terminating cliché. Okay? It is a thought-terminating cliché that functions exactly as cult suppression mechanisms are designed to function. The people using it are not calling out irrational behavior. They are engaged in some of the most irrational, evidence-resistant, identity-fused political behavior in modern American history, and accusing everyone else of being the unhinged ones. So next time someone hits you with the TDS card, you don't have to get defensive. You can just ask, okay, who went to jail for their guy? Who stormed a federal building for their guy? Who bought the Bible? Who got the tattoo? Who built the shrine? We'll wait. Thanks for listening to Radical Leftist Scum. My name is Valdet Slimai. And if you found this useful, share it, rate it, leave a review. And if you hated it, you probably have TDS about me. And honestly, I'm honored. See you next week.